Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to episode 43 of Direwolf20's Let's Play series. I'm doing a little maintenance behind my base. Getting some cool stuff up and running here. Don't mind me. You know, just some things and stuff. Maybe we'll stick with you guys, but we're gonna go down. Hello. Thank you. Woot. You need to go down. You definitely need to go down. So let's see. You should have... Perfect. That's what I want to see. I'd like you to come down here a little bit. Such a mishmash of different power bases, but it's all good. You're back here? Okay, good to know. I'm preparing for what's going to be a new power generation system. We will probably have multiples throughout the series because we have a lot of mods that can generate RF, and I want to play with a lot of them. There's a couple that I haven't played with in quite a while, and the existence of new mods in the pack will make automating those mods more fun and interesting, so we're going to be doing some new stuff with mods that you've seen before. Today's mod, specifically, will be... Dun dun dun! This one, Deep Resonance. Deep Resonance is a mod by McJD, the same author of RF Tools, and like about 50 other mods. And it is a really interesting and neat power generation system. Basically, the way it works is in the world, you'll find resonating crystals, which are really weak and terrible and you don't want to use. And you'll find resonating ore, which you can melt down into liquid resonating crystal liquid, and then you can empower it with certain materials using some processes, and you'll create your own resonating crystals, which will generate tons and tons and tons of RF. And it's going to be really useful as we get into more and more RF using abilities. So I'd like to kind of get started with that today, and we'll see how far we can get. We'll probably get the foundations in place today, and then maybe over the next episode or two, we'll get some more stuff up and running. But for now, you can see I've cleared out a little area in my basement. Basically, what I'm looking to do is I'd like to have an area for generating power, like right around here-ish. And that should be cool. So like we could have like a it's a small multi-block. It doesn't need a lot of space. I mean, it doesn't really have to be that big of a room at all, to be honest with you. Maybe even we'll like stick it here. Yeah, that would be cool. And we can tap into the power and run the power back here behind the wall into the back of this guy, which is going to be turned blue so he can accept power in the back. That was a part of why I wanted to change this. So he's outputting power out the bottom and top, and he's accepting power on the sides from the two turbines, and then out the back he will get power from the resonating thing and maybe some other stuff in the future. So that'll be that. And then so this will be the room that contains the generator, basically. And then over here, we'll have a small room set up. Hopefully, I can keep it relatively small, specifically for the purposes of creating the crystal liquid. So that looks pretty cool and doable. We might need to make a few more tweaks, but it shouldn't be too bad. I might need to bump this wall back one more level, and that shouldn't be too terrible. You can see I've kind of already been doing some of this. Sweet. I like it. All right, you can turn off, and that looks good to me. Cool. All right, so that might be roughly what we do. So I think step one should probably be getting set up to create the crystal liquid. Does that sound like a plan? So let's pop up to our crafting room area over here, and we can be ready for this. I'm going to put some things away, because we're going to need a decent amount of stuff here. So one thing you might want to do is grab yourself a Deep Resonance manual. This will give you all the information you need to know about how Deep Resonance works and how to play with it. Or you can just watch this episode and learn. Either way. But if you're the type that likes to, like me, validate and double check some things, you know, it's all good. So resonating ore, you can find underground. Resonating crystals, they stink. Don't use them. Trust me. And there's different attributes to your crystal. And we actually have a few crystals inside the system that we will be using for some stuff. So there's attributes. There's strength, efficiency, and purity. And then there's also power left. So strength, efficiency, and purity. Strength, as I remember, is going to be responsible for how much total power a crystal is going to generate. Efficiency is how much RF per tick it generates while it's running. And purity affects how good those stats can become, right? So if you look at crystal attributes, that's pretty much what it'll go. So the more strength it has, like the more total power you'll get out of the crystals. And then for the efficiency, the higher that is, the more RF per tick it's going to generate. Now, the downside of these things is radiation. Running this generator creates radiation. However, you can get that purity attribute, which I think was on there. Yeah, purity. That is going to reduce the amount of radiation that happens. So the higher the percentage for purity, the less radiation you're going to get. Purity of 11% is terrible. Strength of 0.43 is terrible. Like 100% is where you want to be for any of these stats. The higher, the better. So we're going to mess with this a little bit. So I think the first thing we need to do is make a few machine frames. So let's take a look at what we need to do. So probably first things first. Machine frame. You need to learn how to make that. And in order to get resonating plates, cool. Why did that happen? I'm not sure. You basically need to smelt resonating ore into resonating plates. So what I'm going to do is, cool. And that can go into our redstone furnace dude. And then up here, we will put this stuff. So I should be able to request machine frames now all day long. Machine frame, or I could just do @resonant. And we should see the resonating machine frame there, and it should be smelting resonating plates, boom, and then it turns them into that. Perfect. Good, good, good. The first thing we'll want to do is start creating liquid crystal. That's the first step. So in order to do that, we're going to need a smelter. Okay, this guy isn't terrible. We want some nether brick, so let's get about 10 of you. And that should come in pretty quickly. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Cool. And then the other thing we're going to want, and let's get like 30 of these bad boys real quick, because we're going to need a decent amount of those for some of the things we'll be working on. And they're pretty cheap to get. We're going to need a resonating tank. So that is around here somewhere. Tank. Yeah, that bad boy. Nice. I think that's it. So if we look at the book, we can... it's been a while since I played with this mod, so it's time for me to learn a little bit. So that tells you information about the liquids, tank, smelter. To use a smelter, you need a tank below it filled with lava and a tank above it, which will be filled with the RCL. In addition, you need to give the smelter power and supply it with resonating ore, either with automation or by inserting it, right? The smelter works best with the tank level filled between 40 and 60%. So if you fill the tank all the way with lava, it's going to be a bad time, because what's going to happen is it'll have less quality in the crystal liquid. And quality is a stat that cannot be changed. So pretty much you want to do this right from the outset. So we're going to need, let's see. Boop. So that's all cool. Let's do this with integrated dynamics, because I'm going to want some other integrated dynamic stuff over there later anyway. So let's get a variable store. Doot. Let's get some variable cards. Let's get entity reader. I don't think I need that or world item guy yet, but we'll definitely want like the power dude, the energy battery. Cool. Hey. Come back here, you. Nice. That's filling up from this guy. All right. And probably some logic cables. We'll probably need a few more of those bad guys. Nice. All right, and that's going to help us. We're going to need a block reader. Reads block information. I'm pretty sure that that's what I'm going to want here. So let's get one of those. Entity, extra dimensional fluid, inventory, machine reader. It might be machine reader. Might be machine reader. I forget which one. Input variable and crafting table, huh? It might be machine reader that I need to read. It probably isn't block reader, to be honest with you, but we'll see. Network redstone world. Okay, that should be right. I don't think it's inventory. I think it's machine, but I guess we'll see. If it is inventory, I guess we could like just grab one just to be sure. We'll have a few extra readers. And then we're going to want an exporter. And we're also going to want some cabling from you. Cool. And we're going to want, once this guy's done, let's go, exporter. Thank you. A bucket of lava, please, and thank you. Nice. And hopefully our lava reserves behave themselves, and if they don't, we'll have to go into the nether and throw a chunk loader down out there. So let's do some basic setups for this thing. So right here in the corner is where I'm going to want to start my smelter. We're going to pop him here. Now remember, they said that you want, underneath this thing, you're going to want an RCL tank. And you're going to want it to be about half full with lava. The target is between 40 and 60%. So you want it to be right around 50% and you'll be good. So what we have to do is build automation that will fill this thing up to 50% and then stop filling it. And then the other thing we're going to want to do is put that guy there. So let's do some machine reading properties. And we'll see what we can come up with, right? Now there should be... Yes, there is. Nice. So let's put our export bus on the bottom here. We're going to set you to require a redstone signal. You're going to export fluids, and it's going to be lava. And this should only run when you're getting a redstone signal now. So it should be safe to hook up, and no lava should be going in there yet. Okay. But once it gets a redstone signal, it'll start filling it. So let's get a machine reader first and see what kind of attributes we can get. Accept mode or provide mode. You might need some cabling. And you might need the energy battery. We're going to be doing a lot with integrated dynamics in this build, some of it more complex than others. But this will hopefully get you guys even more accustomed to integrated dynamics, which I think would be good for everybody, because it's a really powerful mod for reading attributes on blocks and doing stuff about it. Cool. So you should be cool. Is worker has work, can work is working. Temperature is forge energy handler. Is EU handler. Okay, so maybe that's the wrong block. Maybe not machine reader. Inventory reader, maybe? Can you read information about fluids? It's all item-based, I think. Okay. Then let's check if there's a fluid-based integrated dynamics guy. It might be like a tank reader or something like that. Redstone network, machine, inventory, fluid reader. That's probably it, right? Read fluid tanks. Haha! Cool. Nice. All right, I need a water bucket. I forgot for a minute that I was doing that. So there. That's what we're going to want. And some of those other reader attributes will be useful later. We're going to want the tank reader and fluid reader and all kinds of other readers. So machine, inventory, fluid reader, reads information from tanks. Sweet. Tank full, tank empty. Tank not empty is tank fluid amount, total fluid amount. Tanks fill ratio. That's the information that I want. So we're going to want to grab a variable card about that. And let's also grab our display if we can. Do we have a display? Display panel, boop. Just needs a couple static light panels, boop. And you need, what are those? Output variable transformers. Cool, and then we can make a display panel because I want you guys to see the information as it goes, right? So what I'm going to do is I have a bucket of lava. I'm going to put one in there, and then we're going to read the attribute of how full it is. So you can see that it's a double value, so it's always going to be less than 1. 1.0 equals 100%, which is full. 0.06 is 6% full. So basically with one bucket of lava in there, it's 1,000 out of 16,000, which percentage-wise is 0.6. So what I want to do is measure when it's less than 0.5, right? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use my variable guy, which I don't have on me, but luckily it might be in here or it's in here. Yep, there it is, portable logic programmer. We're going to say, we're going to create a double variable that's going to be 0.5, okay? Which is going to represent 50%. And all we're going to do is create a less than operator that's going to say, if the variable card is less than 0.5, output true or false. Okay? Now with my variable store in place, I can put these variables in here, and I can do that. So less than 0.5 evaluates to true, right? Because it's less than 0.5. So now what we can do is get a redstone writer. I should probably teach you just how to make these off the top of your head, but yeah. Lazy Dyer is lazy. And then redstone write to that guy and just put this in here. Now watch what happens. Ooh, look at that. There's new attributes on the redstone writer. Redstone pulse. Sweet. Outputs a pulse with the configured redstone value if the given value changes. Oh, that's cool. Those are new attributes. That's neat. All right, so basically, we now know true or false whether or not it's less than 0.5. So it's true if it's less than 0.5. So if I just put this in here, it should emit a redstone signal until the value goes above 0.5. You ready? Let's give it a shot. Boom. You should now be outputting. Oh, you know what we have to put down here is an input mode? And it should stop filling at 0.5. Nice. That is cool because look, as soon as we hit 0.5 or more, which we are currently at exactly 0.5, right? Fluid fill ratio is 0.5. Boom. As soon as we hit that, it stopped emitting a redstone signal. And that is perfect. That's what we want to see. So we've now, let's see, smelter, between 40 and 60%. So we're at 50%. And as soon as it drops below 50%, it'll stick another bucket in there. So let's validate that that works. Because in order for this to work, the next thing we're going to have to set up is some power. Leadstone should be enough, but we'll see if I'm wrong about that, because I wouldn't put it past me to be wrong about that. Okay, so we've got power going in there, and we're going to get one individual resonant crystal ore. Now, if memory serves correctly, 30 is enough to get the liquid amount that we need for one crystal. But we're going to put one in there, and what we should see is immediately this tank should have gotten another bucket's worth. And we can validate that by checking how much fluid amount is in there. 8,800, which evaluates to 0.55. Sweet. So the moment that it used 200 millibuckets, which is what it needs to process one resonating ore, it dropped below 50%, the redstone signal toggled on, it put a bucket in there, it went above 50%, the redstone signal toggled off. How cool is that? I love it. And now we've got some liquid crystal. It's quality 100 because the quality is determined by how much lava is in the tank. As long as you're between 40 and 60%, you'll always get quality 100. So I'm gonna put the remaining 29 in there and we'll see what happens, right? So watch what happens here. If we read the fluid tank, we're at 8,600, and then it'll be 8,400, 82, 8,000, and as soon as it drops below 8,000, you'll see it go up one bucket's worth because it'll toggle on that redstone signal and let that exporter write, which is cool. So back in a second when it's at probably close to, when it's at 8,000, I'll come back. So we're at 8,000 now, so any moment it should drop below 8,000 and then kick up another bucket's worth. You can do it. Boom, 8,800. See? So like the value went below 0.5, it emitted a redstone signal. Perfect. Cool. So now we've got that stuff. So the first thing you're going to want to fix about your liquid here is the purity. Purity is an attribute that pretty much is important. It's the one that affects the amount of pollution created from your crystal. So to get purity, we're going to want to create a purifier. I think it's called pedestal purifier. Yeah, this is what I want. So I want you to know how to make filter material because you're going to need to keep this stuff in stock pretty frequently. I'm going to make it with coal because I have tons of coal. But you are not a processing pattern. You are a crafting pattern. So you don't need a machine. You go into this dude. And like, let's make a few stacks of these. You should not be having a problem with this. Why are you saying no machine found? I rewrote the recipe without 4 gravel, 4 coal, 1 sand, output move. Okay. Let's just like reset this pattern and stick it in there. I don't know why you were being derpy about that. It's not a processing. I know it was on processing, but I definitely like unchecked it and rewrote the thing, didn't I? 3 stacks, doable. Nice. Wow, that was fast. That was fast. In fairness, you get 8 per craft, so you get a lot. So we're gonna want purifiers. Let's get like 3 The more purifiers you put on it, the better. Let's start with 2. We're also gonna want some chests. And I'll tell you why in a second. And what else are we going to want? We're going to want a couple more tanks. The nice thing about the tanks from this mod is that they will form a multi-block structure, which is cool. So let's stick our... if we put a tank here, like, so see how that's that. If we do that, like, it forms a multi-block. It doesn't connect in texture, but it's definitely a multi-block, and there's, you know, fluid in both tanks. So what I'm going to do is behind the tanks... I'm going to try and make this as compact a build as possible. We're going to put purifiers. So what purifiers do, does exactly what it says on the tin. It will... do I want to do something different with this? We'll start, and then we'll see where it goes. Boop, boop. So purifiers are cool in that they purify the liquid, but they need material to do it. So the material you need is filter material. Filter material goes inside the purifier, and then it basically takes some of the liquid out, it purifies it, and puts it back in. So you can see the purity climbing here. Now, the liquid will combine with the other liquids. So like one bucket will purify a good amount, but then when it gets mixed in with the other 30 buckets worth of liquid that are in there, it quickly, you know, mixes and becomes, you know, a total amalgamation of that. So we have to just wait a little bit until this purity gets up. And if you look in the book for purifier, it'll tell you that it can purify it up to 85%. That's as far as it can go. But other blocks will allow me to purify it even further, but 85% is pretty much the target. And pro tip, this machine doesn't require power, so you can pretty much speed it up as much as you want all day long. Hooray! And you'll see that you quickly get purity 36.9, 50, nice. So this basically sucks in liquid, purifies it, spits it back out. End of story. Cool. Now I know what you're wondering. Direwolf, why did you put a chest behind these deep purifier thingies? Notice the filter material is being used up. Guess what? It absorbs some of the nastiness of the liquid and creates a spent filter material, which we will use in a crafting recipe later that's going to be useful for us. So FYI, that's why the chest is back there. It will automatically output the spent filter material into the nearest available inventory, aka that chest. So we're at 84.9%, so we're like super close. You'll notice that the last like 1% or so takes a little while, but eventually you'll hit 85%. There we go, 85.1. Sometimes it bumps up a decimal point, but it's all good. It's pure as pure can be. So that's nice. And you are still chilling exactly where you're supposed to be, right around the 50% mark. Loving it. So next step to alter the stats of our liquid would be, let's see, we could probably do the lens and the laser. That sounds like a good plan. So the lens and the laser allows you to further purify your liquid and modify other stats besides the purity. So for this, we're going to want the infusing laser and the lens. Boom and boom. Sweet. Now these guys, you basically want to set them up, I think it's 1 block space away from the tank. The lens has to be placed on the tank and the laser firing the lens, facing the lens. So you have the laser, 1 empty space, and then the lens, and then the tank. So how do we want to lay this out? What would be cool would be to put this up top, maybe? I've never done it this way, but if I put the laser, you can only place this vertical? What? Come on! McJD, please. I wanted to like try and make this as compact a build as possible, and you are not helping, sir. So lens, and then, you know, 1 empty space, right? Because this is the block space that the lens is in, and then the laser has to go basically here facing the lens, and that should be cool. Now this guy also needs power, so we're going to want to run power up, you know, in some kind of meaningful way. We'll start with leadstone flux ducts just because we have a bunch of them, but we might wind up So you're going to get juice. We'll see if it's enough. If we need more power, easily done. So now, in order to use this guy, there's two things that we have to supply. There's a catalyst, which will, I think, cause it to run. And basically, you want to put resonating crystals in here. By the way, when you use a resonating crystal, it will become empty, and you can throw it in there as well. But for now, I'm going to throw any and all resonating crystals that I have, because like I said, the ones that you find in the world are garbage, quite literally. And you don't want to use them to generate power, trust me. So your use for them is to fill up the internal buffer of this catalyst thing that you can then use to affect the stats of this. Cool? And if you look in here, there should be some attributes that tell you lens and laser might be listed here. Valve, crystallizer, pedestal. So you know what we could do is, if we look at emeralds, because I know they're one of the ones, atomic reconstructor, lots of things use emeralds, obviously. But eventually we will find deep resonance laser. Cool. If we show our recipes on deep resonance laser by clicking on this, you can see all the items and the way they change the stats. For example, an ender pearl will increase the purity by 2%. Now remember, it only functions on 500 millibuckets, or half a bucket's worth of RCL. Basically what happens is you're going to bump it up by 2%, but that 2% affects only a small part of that liquid. So you only see it go up a smaller thing, like maybe, 0.5% or something. The dimensional shard actually looks like a really nice stat upgrade. So the number on the right tells you how high it can go. So for example, purity can only go up to 85% from the purifiers, but if you use ender pearls, you can get it up to a max of 100% purity, right? Dimensional shards, bump it up by 1% on purity, 8% for strength and efficiency. And purity can get up to 100, but strength and efficiency, the highest you'll get out of using dimensional shards is 80%. Cool. These stats vary wildly. So you can see there's all kinds of different items you can use here that affect things in different ways. So the purity doesn't change when you use prismarine, and you get a little bit of strength and efficiency. Gunpowder, for example, gets you a bunch of strength and not as much efficiency. But you can see all the stat changes pretty much here. Gas tiers are pretty good for strength and pretty good for efficiency. I don't know why you would ever want to... I guess I could see you wanting efficiency to go down, so you have less RF per tick. So slime balls have that option. Diamonds affect purity, right? Glowstone, all kinds of stuff that's cool. One of the best ones, I think, is a nether star. Yeah. So that bumps it up by 90%, but you lose 60% of purity, right? So the best thing to boost this with is a nether star. It really bumps it up. Now, it bumps it up by 90%, right? Which is, remember I said like a couple episodes back, I was getting nether stars for something that was going to generate power. Hintity hint hint. There we are. Right, 500 millibuckets worth of RCL. Now, I forget how many millibuckets are in here, but watch what happens, right? So I'm going to get a few nether stars, and we're going to put one in here, right? And I believe this guy needs a redstone signal to run, so we're going to want a lever. Boom. And you can see that laser poof, right? Now that bumped the strength and efficiency up by 7.5% each. It said 90, but that's 90 for 500 millibuckets. It also dropped the efficiency, or the purity, by 60%. So purity has to be refilled. So what I'm going to do is throw a few more nether stars in there, and we're going to figure out how many nether stars to get this guy up to a decent level, right? So let's see. We got it up 30% with 4 nether stars, right? So if I did 12 nether stars, that should be 90%, right? So 8 more should get me up to 100%. Now, here's the thing. If your purity drops below 0, it's a bad time. So don't let that happen, okay? Trust me on that. Sweet. That's pretty cool. So we got our strength and efficiency up to 100%. This is going to be a really, really good crystal, okay? Now, let's let this purity fill back up to 85%. And if we wanted to, what we could do is look at maybe getting the purity up to 100% as well. That'll reduce the amount of nasty stuff that happens. So diamonds will get it up by 5. Emeralds will get it up by 8. We should have a decent amount of emeralds. How are we for emeralds? Not terrible. So what I want to do is let these guys, filter material, get it up to 85%, and then we'll throw some emeralds at it. Cool. So we'll be back in a sec. All right, so purity's at 85% now. What I'm going to do is boost it a little bit with some emeralds. So it looks like 85.7, 86.4. It's going to boost up a little bit. So let's throw like, you know, a handful of emeralds in there and see what happens. If I get it to 100%, we're good. So basically, emeralds or diamonds. Diamonds would work as well, you know. But I feel like emeralds are a good one to use because they're better than diamonds, and they're used in less things than diamonds. Plenty of mods use diamonds as a balancing point, and emeralds not as much. So if we got this by up to 100% purity, I'd be happy. Looks like we might need a few more emeralds in there. 96, 97. We're getting there. 100%. Sweet. So we can turn that off now. We can reclaim any extra emeralds we've got, and that's cool. The next thing we're going to want from Deep Resonance is crystallize filter. I could just search for filter if I was being smart, but I assumed I would have found it by now. Valve. That's what I'm looking for anyway. Valve. Valve needs a couple filter materials. And then we're going to want another tank as well. So the tank will go here. So valves are cool. What they will do is they will transfer liquid from the tank above them to the tank below them, but they can also be used to specify the necessary stats before it'll move it, and it'll also limit the maximum amount of liquid that can be allowed in the bottom tank. So I'm going to leave the default, which is 100, but if you want to say like wait for purity to hit 85% and then move this, you totally could. Nothing wrong with that. Right? But we're going to apply it, redstone mode ignored, so that when we have a tank underneath this bad boy, which I don't want you to multi-block with that tank. So that's kind of annoying. I don't want you to multi-block with that tank, because that's, yeah. I'd like it to be compact, but I don't think I can. So what we're going to have to do, should we just like see what happens if I place this? I'm going to remove you for a sec. And I'm going to see what happens if I'm assuming this will combine and multi-block. Yeah, it does, right? And now it's filling itself back up. Okay, cool. So you're at 8 buckets of lava, right? Hey, you should be reading that now. Oh, you know what? You might need to go into doot. There you go, 8 buckets worth of lava. So how can I combine this in like an efficient way? Let's think. I think probably the best way to do it would be to remove you, and we're gonna move this all over one. So what we're gonna do is doot. We'll have the laser here. We'll have another tank here, which will spread the liquid out more. Then we can have the lens here. Since I'm doing this, I might as well put another purifier back here. And I guess the proper way to do this, let's get another stack of you. Boom. And let's get a crate, since you guys aren't going to want to be sitting next to each other with 2 chests there. Cool. So like you've got some spent filter material, but then you can go there to dump your spent filter material into the crate behind it. Cool. So now you're good. By the way, how are you guys for filter material? You're all right. Could probably use more soon, but so that'll be a 3-tank system, and then we'll put our valve here, right, and apply that. So now the only liquid that's going to be allowed to go through the valve is 100, 100, 100, which is what we have. Nice. So if we hit that, and we might need to say apply. Now sometimes the stats say 100, but they're like 99.999 or something stupid like that. So what I'm going to do is change these guys to be 99s. And now the fluid's going through. Nice. Yeah, it's just a rounding error. That's all that happens sometimes. So we should be cool. And then the last step to create your crystal is to make a crystallizer. And that goes on top of a tank, and it also needs power. So what I'm going to do is make a tank, And we're going to multi-block this tank underneath here so that you're multi-blocked. And then we're going to put the crystallizer on top, and you just need power, and you should be cool. Nice. So you're filling up with power. Are you draining the tank? I'm pretty sure the crystallizer goes on underneath. Right? Because if it doesn't, we'll see. I might be wrong. Oh, no, it's 5%. It's moving. Sweet. So yeah, the crystallizer goes on top of the tank, right? So I can speed this dude up a little bit, right? It's going to drain the power out a little bit because I have a low grade thing on there, but that's fine. 61%. It takes a minute, but, you know, once it's done, it should be basically draining this liquid out and creating a crystal with it. And if I remembered correctly about the whole, you know, a metric amount, nice. That is cool. We've got a 100, 100, 100 resonating crystal. That may be the best crystal I've ever made in any of my series. I don't know if I've ever made it to a full 100%. That said, I totally have unlimited nether stars, which totally helped. Cool. So that's not a terrible build right there, and it's nice, relatively compact. I will take it. I like it. I'm pleased as punch. So what I'm going to do is wrap up the episode here, and we'll come back next time and do a little bit more with this stuff, and we'll set up how to generate power using these crystals. And then we might circle back at some point and fully automate this. I just have to figure out how I want it to be. But I should be able to do it. What I might wind up doing is having another laser on here that's like maybe here to here. One with emeralds and one with whatchamacallit, some other stuff. And we can hopefully read the NBT values of this crystal, because what I'd like to do is have it like fully automated, where we say, you know, once the crystal's purified at 85%, turn on the nether star until it gets to 100%, then wait for it to be 85% again, and then turn on the emerald to kick it over to 100%, 100%. And then once that's done, this guy will start filtering. That's kind of what I want to do, but we'll see. For now, Double20 signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Take it easy.